Ever notice that sometimes the most brilliant person in the room isn't exactly um, the most popular?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at this idea that maybe appearing less intelligent could actually be like a secret weapon,
Mm,
especially in social situations.
interesting.
And to help us explore this, we're going to be looking at the work of the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer.
Oh, Schopenhauer, yeah. What's interesting about his work is that it's not just theory. He pulled a lot of these insights from his own life.
Yeah, makes you think, right?
Totally.
So to illustrate these ideas, we're going to use the stories of these two guys, Edward and Sam, both smart, but with very different ways of showing it.
I like that. Makes it easier to see how this philosophy actually plays out.
Yeah, so picture Edward. He's the type who loves to quote classic literature, correct your grammar mid-sentence.
I've met a few Edwards in my time.
Oh, yeah, we all have.
Hmm.
Always trying to prove they're the smartest one in the room.
Right.
Right. And then there's Sam. Now, Sam is also super intelligent, but he's taken a different approach. He's actually inspired by Schopenhauer.
Okay.
He chooses to be more humble, a good listener, and he never makes anyone feel embarrassed about what they know or don't know.
Interesting. Very different approaches.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that Sam, by appearing less knowledgeable, actually ends up gaining more affection and respect from others.
It really challenges our typical ideas about what it takes to be liked and respected.
Yeah, we're always told to stand out from the crowd, be the best.
You got to prove yourself, be on top, all that.
Exactly. But Schopenhauer says, hold on, maybe there's a smarter way to play the game.
I like that. A smarter way to play the game.
Yeah, because he really understood human nature. He knew that people are incredibly sensitive to what others think of them.
Oh, for sure.
And he has this great quote. He said, due to a peculiar weakness of human nature, people generally think too much of others' opinions of them.
Ooh, very insightful.
It really is. And that's why someone like Edward, even though he's brilliant, his approach can backfire.
Yeah, when you're around someone who's constantly trying to show off how smart they are, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, not great.
Exactly, inadequate or even resentful.
Exactly. And this is where Sam's Schopenhauer-inspired strategy really starts to work in his favor.
Makes sense.
Because he's choosing humility over ego, he creates a space where other people actually feel comfortable.
That's huge. So how does this play out? What are some examples of how Edward and Sam approach social situations differently? All right, so let's put them both at a party.
Okay, I like it.
Edward, King Edward, you know what he does, launches into some complex analysis of some obscure book.
Oh, yeah.
Name dropping, dates, the whole bit.
Oh, I can see it now.
And what happens? People's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, no one wants to feel like they're being lectured to.
Right. It's that classic know-it-all vibe that just pushes people away.
Totally. But Sam, on the other hand, he's engaged in a conversation about, I don't know, a popular movie, asking questions, really listening to what others have to say.
He's interested.
And here's the thing. He probably knows way more about film theory than anyone else there.
But he's not using it to dominate the conversation.
Exactly. So is this what Schopenhauer meant by playing the fool?
Ah, that's a great question. And this is really one of Schopenhauer's most intriguing ideas. Now, he wasn't saying to actually be stupid.
Okay, good, because that would be a very different podcast.
He was talking about strategically choosing when and how you let your intelligence shine.
Ah, so it's not about denying your intelligence.
Right?
It's about using it strategically.
Exactly. And to understand this, we need to go back to Schopenhauer's own life. When he was 19, he got this letter from his mother that really shook him. And it's something that really resonates with Sam in our story. She basically told him, "You're brilliant, but you're ruining it by trying to outshine everyone." She pointed out that his need to constantly prove he was smarter than everyone else was isolating him.
Wow, tough love.
Yeah, tough but valuable. It highlighted this key point. People are drawn to those who make them feel good, not to those who make them feel inferior.
Right, makes sense. I bet that letter really shaped Schopenhauer's philosophy.
Absolutely, and you can see how it influenced Sam. He remembers Schopenhauer's words. "It is a true fortune to be considered foolish, for just as warmth is pleasant for the body, it does the mind good to feel its superiority, and a man will instinctively seek company that gives him this feeling, just as he would move closer to a fireplace or walk in the sun to feel warmth."
So Sam is almost being generous by allowing others to feel intellectually superior.
Right.
It's like creating that sense of warmth and comfort.
Exactly, and it goes back to that need we all have to feel valued and respected. By letting others shine, Sam fulfills that need in them. and they appreciate him for it.
That's such an interesting point. It makes you wonder, does Edward ever catch on to what Sam's doing?
I wonder.
Does he ever have that aha moment?
Oh, he does, and it's a turning point for him.
Okay, so there's hope for Edward.
There is. He starts noticing that all his attempts to impress people, well, they're having the opposite effect.
Makes sense.
And then he sees how much everyone enjoys being around Sam.
Oh, and it makes him wonder.
Yeah, he starts to think maybe there's something to this whole Schopenhauer thing.
It's like a light bulb goes off.
Exactly. And a good example of this shift is during a public debate.
Okay.
Instead of trying to dominate like he usually does.
Yeah, which I can totally see him doing.
Edward actually takes a step back. He listens to the other debaters, really considers their points.
Wow, that's not like Edward at all.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a real sign of growth. He remembers what Sam explained about Schopenhauer's paradox of superiority.
Okay, remind me about that.
So Schopenhauer said, "There is nothing of which a man is more proud than his intellectual ability, as it gives him his commanding position in the world. But it is extremely reckless to show anyone that you are decidedly superior to them in this respect, and even worse, to let others see it, for they will then desire revenge."
Never thought of it like that. So Edward realizes that by constantly showing off, he's actually pushing people away.
Yeah, instead of winning admiration, he's creating resentment.
And what's interesting is that he doesn't become less intelligent, he just learns to use it differently.
Right. It's not about dumbing yourself down. It's about adapting social intelligence.
Yeah.
And during the debate, people were genuinely impressed by what Edward had to say.
Because he was being arrogant about it.
Exactly. He presented his ideas in a way that was thoughtful and engaging.
It's like he unlocked this hidden superpower. He figured out how to connect with people on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that brings us back to this idea of playing the fool.
Right.
Again, it's not about denying your intelligence. It's about using it strategically.
So you can navigate those tricky social situations?
Smoothly, yeah, and keep things harmonious.
I like that. By not being threatening, you can make people more open to what you have to say.
It's about fostering psychological safety, making people feel comfortable being themselves.
Without feeling judged.
Exactly. And remember, Schopenhauer believed that playing the fool is a way to cover up other people's flaws.
Interesting.
He actually said in his essay, Metaphysics of Sexual Love, he said, "Playing the fool is the last resort to cover others' flaws."
This whole concept is fascinating. It makes you realize that true social intelligence isn't just about being smart.
It's about understanding ego, perception, how all those things work together.
And remembering that everyone wants to feel respected.
Absolutely, no matter how intelligent they are.
So how can our listeners apply Schopenhauer's ideas to their own lives?
Yeah. Well, the biggest takeaway is finding that balance between intelligence and humility.
Not pretending to be someone you're not.
Right. It's more about recognizing that social situations, they're delicate.
You have to approach them carefully.
And sometimes a little strategic foolishness can help build stronger connections.
I love that. It's a reminder that sometimes the smartest move is to just step back and listen.
Choose your battles. Sometimes nurturing relationships is more valuable than winning an argument.
That's a powerful thought, especially these days when we're told to always be assertive.
It is, but remember, Schopenhauer wasn't saying to be passive or weak. He was saying that true strength is often found in restraint.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm seeing things in a whole new light.
Me too. It's always exciting to explore these unconventional ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, any final advice Schopenhauer would give our listeners?
You know, I think he'd probably say, take a look at how you interact with people.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, when is it actually smarter to maybe take a more humble approach? Even when you feel like you have all the answers.
Right.
Think about someone you really admire, someone who's just so good with people.
Yeah.
Do they ever play the fool? You know, in a way that makes everyone feel comfortable and appreciated.
That's such a great point. I'm definitely going to be thinking about this next time I'm out with friends or at work.
Yeah, it really changes how you see things.
Absolutely.
And remember, you know, like with any philosophy, the key is to take what works for you. Don't be afraid to experiment a little. See how these ideas fit with your own personality.
Yeah, that's great advice.
You know, adapt it to the situations you find yourself in.
This has been such an eye-opening look at the power of playing the fool.
It really is unexpected.
It is. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for listening. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.